welcome back. I got the truck in here now. The little clip you just watched was from when I built this. I think it was 2020, early 21. And that was my neighbor Dave, and we just took this out when it was a rolling chassis, chained it up to the John Deere tractor, and just did a burnout because sometimes you just need motivation and you do burnouts. So I figured I would just take a minute for this video because a bunch of people have asked about the build on the 1946 Chevy here. So we'll kind of go through what I did when I built this a few years ago, and I will kind of tell you the things that I learned building this truck that helped me build the Master Deluxe. So I don't have any real significant video of the build for the 46 because I wasn't doing any YouTube videos at the time, and I just kind of documented what I could for my purposes. But I'll tell you about it. I'll kind of do a walk around. Also, I have still photos, but I don't really have a way to kind of lay them in the video here or do a voiceover or anything like that. I don't have any like nice video editing software or anything like that. So I'll just kind of give you the rundown, walk around the vehicle here, show you what I built. And then at the end of this, I'll kind of put a montage of a slideshow with some music, something like that. So if you want to see the pictures during the build, you can, keep watching the video. That'd be awesome. Make some comments. Tell me what you think of this one. So I'll flip the camera around here and introduce you to the 1946 Chevy Pickup. All right, here's the 1946 Chevy. So bought this off Craigslist in 2018 or 19, I think. Kind of sat there for a couple of years, really didn't know what the heck I was going to do with it. Also had no experience building anything. Then if you remember in 2020, something happened that gave us all a lot of time at home alone. And 2021, I spent a lot of time building it. So it is a 1946 Chevy. It is on the original frame, which has been notched right there, kind of dropped below the cab. Then I channeled the cab to drop on it lower. It's kind of sitting up a little bit right now because it's on the casters. So it sits really low. When you're on the ground, you only have about 3 inches between the ground and my exhaust there. So here's the story. Bought it off Craigslist without a plan, but it was, somebody had already started doing the work. So I bought it and decided I was going to build a thing. Then, like I said, it sat there for a little while. And then finally got around to deciding I was going to build it. And that was basically, I think everybody remembers kind of what happened during 2020, 2021. Anyways, I kind of learned on this. So I'll go around, I'll show you some more of the details of the build and the things that I did. But it was a fun project. So I don't know really where to start. So we'll probably kind of cut in and out of the video here so I can put some pictures in. And I will just do a walk around and show you the overall build. All right, so first things first, I guess credit where credit is due. And when I bought this, I had to teach myself how to do this because I never had welded before this. So my inspiration primarily was Rat Rod Bob and Half-Ass Customs and Bad Chad. And the real influence from Rat Rod Bob was I kind of thought, okay, let's kind of do this Frankenstein looking thing. So when I did the chop, I decided I was going to do all this stitch welding. So again, bought it, didn't have a plan, and then kind of inspiration hit, and here we go. So to start with, basically, first things first, the very first thing I did was the bed. So did some paint stripper on that, took it all the way down to bare metal. There was no actual real substantial wood in the back. So I cut all that out. I made a frame for the bed here so that I could kind of channel it over this and lower it a little bit. So my thought process was I kind of wanted to line up with that body line with the top of the bed rail. That was my thought. Hindsight, I probably would have lowered it. I had to add these pieces here just to kind of bring that down. This was just scrap metal that I had that I cut and then bolted it to the bottom of the frame. it sticks up in the rear, which I don't really like, and I've always wanted to kind of take something like this and add it back there just so the whole thing looks lower. That's a future me problem. But anyways, I had never, ever, ever, ever done any metal fabrication or welding. So again, watching Rat Rod Bob and a bunch of other YouTubers, basically, I taught myself how to do this. So one of the things that I learned from Rat Rod Bob, and again, I'll do a montage at the end, but to cut a straight line, basically, I ran a string from this side all the way around the belt line just above this body line here. And then you spray paint over the string so you got a nice straight line. Then you measure up 3 inch, well, I did a 3-inch chop, measure out how much ever you want to chop. I measured up 3 inches and I ran the string again, spray painted again. Then I had perfectly nice, clean, straight lines all the way along the back. After that, I took a piece of metal strapping and I just used some sheet metal screws and I poked it in to the cab, and I just took my plasma cutter, which I bought specifically for this project, and I just ran it right along the top of that. It left a super nice clean cut right on the back of the cab. And then what I did is I had to do, the notch in the roof again, just because as you chop a vehicle, what happens is the distance between the A and the B pillar is going to change, because when you drop it down, let me go around the lift here. When you drop it down, your A pillar isn't gonna match up. Neither is your B pillar. So you have to make the roof longer. So in this case, I made my little notch here. Hindsight being what it is, having never done this before, I didn't really know any better. I shouldn't have cut really right across the middle. I probably should have put it back here, but anyways, it is what it is, and I wanted to go for the Frankenstein rat rod look anyways. So I cut this piece of sheet metal and I stuck it in there and I welded it back together. So that gained my length in the roof, which I think was, well, you can kind of see in there, you can see that strip all the way across, probably 1.5 inches or so. So after that, welded the roof back on, and I decided, after I did the chop, I had this strip of metal left from the original cab. And I thought, instead of trying to make my weld look perfect all the way along the back, why don't I take this piece that I already cut out and I'll lay it over the top and I'll add more stitches. The reason for these things here is because I had to do some relief cuts, and why not? Again, building a rat rod. So that was the cab. As far as the bed, I was kind of talking about that before. The bed was rotted out. So I built the frame. I then had nothing left in here. So this is just 3/4 inch plywood. And what I did was I used a propane torch and I burned it. And then I just took a bunch of used motor oil and laid it on there and just kind of rubbed it in, and had some leftover hinges, and I used those as well. So that really kind of matched the patina. So what we did for the bed here is, after it was bare metal, we used our mix of peroxide and vinegar and salt water and basically rusted it. Then I lightly sanded it. Then I painted it. And then I kind of repeated the process because I was kind of going for this army green kind of look. So they don't match perfect because this metal was different than that metal. So that makes me think that this bed doesn't actually go to that truck, but whatever. It's what came with it. So then we needed to put the gas tank and battery somewhere. So the fuel cell is back here with the battery. Don't worry about this. This is my battery maintainer. I've got a disconnect here for the battery, so I can just, legit turn off all the power to the vehicle. So that's kind of the bed. Here's my toolbox. Things like this, the stoplight, these lights here. These are flea market finds. Tailgate was from a full-size Blazer or something like that. I had to cut it down, I think, 7 inches and narrow it 16 inches so that it would fit in here. These are what I was told at the flea market from a 65 Impala, I believe. Craigslist, found the Krieger SS's, and I had them covered with Cerakote, so that's not paint. That is a permanent application of Cerakote, so those are gonna last longer than me for sure. Bought these at Craigslist, not Craigslist, Carlisle. You know, when COVID was happening, Carlisle was supposed to be shut down. Well, somehow it happened. Not asking questions, but I bought those there. Flea market find, vacuum gauge, had a speaker, traded it for the tachometer. The turn signals up front are from a motorcycle. Hood is a Ferguson tractor, $5 at the flea market. Motorcycle, mirrors, found the horn at another flea market for $10. That was totally roached, didn't work at all. I just went to Harbor Freight, got one for like $5. Took that one apart, put the Harbor Freight one inside of it, so that works. Mustang 2 manual rack from Speedway. You can see what I had to do for the steering here. So kind of like on the Master, we come out, we make a turn, kind of go along the frame rail, and then we drop right down into the steering rack. That was an adventure, figuring the route for that thing, but that worked out pretty well. Like I said, it's a 1946 Chevy Pickup, but it's sitting on the suspension from a full-size two-wheel drive 1981 Chevy Pickup. So somebody prior to me had just cut the springs, and that's how the front was lowered. In the back, I didn't do anything to that after I got it. The exhaust, again, that was Carlisle. This here was just a universal hot rod kit from Summit. The seats in here, originally I had some like Jeep, like CJ low back seats, and you know, again, I'm 6'5", so when I was in here, this windshield is like 12, 13 inches or something like that after doing the chop, and I had to hunch over all the time, so I bought these, and they work great, except they're kind of hard on the ass. So the pads here, this was a duffel bag I got at the flea market, and then just some foam on some plywood, and there you go, you have ass pads. And get in here. The seat belts were from the very first Chevelle I ever had, and they were just that horrible kind of green 70s color, but they actually kind of go with the green theme of the vehicle. My buddy Jeff had this steering wheel in his 71 Cutlass, and he left me a manual 4-speed transmission and the steering column from that Cutlass. Really nothing to report in the inside here. Fabricated a floor, tunnel for the drive shaft and transmission. Nothing fancy in here. Jamie was nice enough to apply bed liner to the roof. Not for really any sound deadening purposes, because let me tell you, that thing's loud. These here, so M&M Custom Fabrication. Friend of mine does like vinyl wraps for vehicles. So he cut out a stencil for me, or he provided a stencil. I put the sticker on there, and then took out the parts that were, you know, supposed to be stenciled on here. And then I just spray painted it white, and then did the, you know, I sanded it. I did the spray with the peroxide and such, and that turned out pretty well. I guess we should talk about what's under the bed here. So let me just open this. I fabricated some hinges for that, but this is the interesting part here. So you can see my vent holes there. Radiators back here with the transmission cooler. Works out pretty okay, but if you're in traffic or you're sitting still, it overheats. I did add an electric fuel, not an electric fuel pump, an electric water pump, which I think it moves 50 gallons a minute or something like that. I do have a new radiator because this is an old brass one. Bought that at Carlisle. It's from mid-60s Corvette, I think, something maybe. But I've got a new aluminum 4-core radiator that I'm going to take this out and replace it so that we don't get as hot. Fluid cooler is just a Summit doodad. It's got an electric fan on the bottom, so it does pretty okay. So I've just got these barrel latches here for the tailgate. Again, flea market find for that. Yep. Anybody recognize that thing? So underneath here, small block Chevy 350, TH350. Hood is hinged, so it goes forward. I just got some wing nuts here, and basically the whole thing folds forward. There's nothing fancy under there. I think there's 80 gajillion small block Chevys out in the world. So, you know, that's what that is. So that's kind of the walk around. Just wanted to kind of introduce everybody to the build here. And if you have any particular questions about this, let me know. There were some people that, you know, had made comments and things like that about wanting to see how I did this. So again, I don't have any real significant video of the build, but this is just kind of the intro to this particular vehicle. So now that it's on the lift, there is a puddle. I was able to get it onto the lift because I got my new casters for my birthday, which was awesome. And these things work so much better than those other ones. But got it positioned, got it on the lift. There is a leak from the tail shaft, and also where the shifter goes into the TH350, it leaks from there as well. I had planned on taking it out of the truck anyways over the winter because I have a guy who is going to put a shift kit in it for me anyways. So plan will be to get it up in the air. There's some things that I have to tidy up in here as well. One other thing that I haven't mentioned so far is that in my first attempt ever at doing flamethrowers, you can see I got a spark plug there. So I do not have a fuel pump to supply fuel to it. So basically I've just got a switch on the inside that turns the ignition off. So basically what I do is I rev the engine up, cut the ignition to the coil. That lets gas go straight through the motor, which of course washes down your cylinder walls, but whatever. Shoots out the exhaust, and I'll get short bursts of like really loud flames coming out of the exhaust tips. After being at Ratstock and seeing the flames those guys are throwing, holy buckets, did I do that wrong. So what I saw there that I think I will need to adjust is I'm going to get a second fuel pump with some solenoids so I can dump fuel into the exhaust so that it'll burn as it's coming out. I have a coil for one for this side and one for the passenger side, but I don't have it wired to get really good spark. So I think that's also contributing to why I don't get good flames. But at the end of the montage of the video, I'll put some pictures and some videos of the flames that I get out of this. It's just a fun toy because what the hell, I got a fun toy here. So I guess if you have any other questions about the build, let me know. I do appreciate the comments. And I will quit yapping and I'll put together some photos of the build. So nothing really happening here as far as me building anything right now, but this is what I built in the past. So a couple winter projects on this thing. And anyways, thanks for coming back. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want to talk about this more or what we should do to it next. Appreciate it.
sorry. I was like, what is he trying to do?